Purdue did have a bad loss to Northwestern earlier this year. They were ranked number 1. They lost last year to Northwestern. Guess what? They were ranked number 1. I have a 0 candle. I didn't have a 1 candle. I would have pulled that out otherwise. The last 2 times they played Northwestern, they've been upset as the number 1 team in the country. So you don't think this game will be circled? Well, it will be. And then on top of that, Purdue's a really good team still. And they've been a team that kind of lets games get away from them. And I want to point that out also. I like Purdue in this game minus the 13, but I also would not be opposed to playing them on the first half. In fact, Purdue's been a great first half play the last couple seasons. And I had our friend and colleague Ralph Michaels here from wagertalk.com run some first half numbers for me. And the database doesn't have first half lines in it. But on average, Purdue's been about a 12.5 point favorite for the game, which means they'd be about a 7.5 point favorite for the first half. They've won the games here over the last year or so on average by about 16 points a game. They've won the first half by 12.5 points a game on average. So that just shows, once again, how explosive they are in the first half. And by the way, they had a 12-point lead against Northwestern in that game they just lost recently this season in overtime. The difference in this game is, though, I don't think they take their foot off the throttle. I'm sorry, 8-point lead. It was an 8-point lead, and they had a 7-point lead last year when they lost that game as well as a road favorite. I don't think they take their foot off the throttle. You could definitely split it and go first half and full game. Either way, though, I like Purdue in this one. And I'll also point out those last 2 games have been on the road. And in fact, they also played Purdue Purdue played Northwestern on the road 3 games ago. They haven't been at home against Northwestern in over 2 years, January of 2022. And oh, by the way, they won that game by 20 points as a 12-point home favorite. So a lot of reasons to like Purdue here in a legitimate revenge spot tonight.
So that 20-point victory in January of 22 that Purdue had is the only win by margin they've had over Northwestern since before COVID, since early 2019. Northwestern has owned the series ATS, and the biggest margin of victory, with the exception of that 20-point win for Purdue, was 6 points against the Wildcats. Is this one of those situations where maybe it's just a bad matchup for Purdue? The 2 styles don't work, or the style works in Northwestern's favorite? It seems like Purdue has consistently and repeatedly struggled to put up margin of victory against this Northwestern squad. They've been a real thorn in their side. How does that change here?
Yeah, well, that could often be the case with a team like Northwestern. They're one of the slowest half-court teams in the country. They're in the 330s in pace out of 362 teams. But I think home teams, especially the inferior, the home underdog, can dictate tempo better on their home court. And that's exactly why those last games have been close, because the last 3 have all been at Northwestern. And it was a single-digit win for Purdue and then 2 straight losses, as we've talked about. Once again, though, they led by 8, 7, and 4 at halftime. The last 2 games, despite having the 6 and 7 point halftime leads, or 8 and 7 point halftime leads, Purdue still shot just 26 and 23% from 3-point range. I expect them to shoot much better at home tonight. And I think Purdue also will be able to speed this game up a little bit on their home court. And one other angle that Ralph Michaels threw out when we were discussing this game today is that Northwestern, their last 8 games away from home, the favorite is 8-0 against the spread. Northwestern is 4-0 as a fave, 0-4 as a dog. What that tells you, once again, is when Northwestern is able to dictate their tempo and the slow-down style, they do well. So when they've been a dog, they've gone 0-4 ATS. When they've been a favorite, they've gone 4-0. They're not the favorite here, obviously, as a 13-point dog. So I do think this game gets away from them. And once again, Purdue first half or Purdue full game is definitely the way to play it.